Board meeting for April 14th. The first agenda we're going to have tonight is actually a presentation on our 2022-23 tentative budget. But we're going to do the pledge to the flag first. Marcia, I had you first, but we should stick with the pledge first. So Don, since you reminded me, let's lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Don.
Please be seated.
Marsha,
Now,
can you hear
we
Jerry?
just test everybody.
Yeah, you're so good.
We can hear like everything in the room.
Okay, but can you hear? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so like I was saying,
Yeah.
we're going to hear from Marcia. She's going to do a nice PowerPoint presentation for us tonight. So we're going to let you take it away.
Thank you very much. Sorry I can't be there in person. I will try not to talk through the presentation. Okay. Let me share my screen. All right. You can see the little thumbnails too, can't you?
No, not anymore.
Oh, you can? Okay. So you can see the presentation and nothing else?
Correct.
Excellent. Okay. Welcome to the 2022-2023 budget presentation. Thank you very much to everyone who participated in the process. Okay. First, a quick overview. I'll very briefly cover some of the things that we consider when we're creating a budget for the new fiscal year. Then I'll get into a few details about the general fund and the sewer fund. And lastly, I will touch briefly on the upcoming wastewater treatment plant improvement project. So, timeline for the budget process. Oh, and I should note about the funds for anyone watching who might not be familiar with government accounting. Each fund in governmental accounting is a separate set of books that supports a specific government function. A municipality might have a library fund, a police fund, a water fund, things like that. The town of Webster has at least a dozen separate funds. Since we are a small village, we only create budgets for two funds, the general fund and the sewer fund. Okay, our budgets are considered in everything we do throughout the year, but budget planning really ramps up 3 or 4 months before the new budget comes up for a vote. In December, everyone's thinking budget all year, but I will officially give department heads a little nudge to start thinking about the upcoming budget, what projects you want to accomplish, what equipment might need to be replaced. Just put it in the front of your mind. Then in the first couple months of the new year, we meet with department heads, with the mayor, anyone else who has input about budget items. February and March, we have at least one, usually 2 or 3 budget workshops and ongoing discussions as needed to fine-tune the numbers and make it relevant decisions. And then the deadline for the public hearing on the tentative budget, which will be happening right after the presentation, is April 15th. That's the statutory deadline. And the deadline for the board to adopt the new budget is May 1st. So far, so good. We are right on track. There are a whole bunch of things that are considered in building the new budget. I'm not going to get into detail on all of them. A lot of things are just based on what has happened in the past. The budget is an estimate. Of course, we can't predict the future. possible to make this as accurate an estimate as possible. So we look at what's happened in the past. Department heads get quotes and come up with, the best estimates they can for their specific numbers. Let's see. There it is. Some things are set, such as certain wages, lease payment amounts, debt payments, things like that. There are no questions about those. They're just what they are. Ongoing projects coming up, we either are already paying for them or we are saving up so that we can pay for them in the future. Okay, state and federal funding can have a significant impact on the number and scope of projects that we can plan for in any given year. So changes in that funding are vitally important to consider. Economic trends, we have had increases in all kinds of supplies that we can't do without them, so we have to take the increases into account. And finally, there are legal limits to the taxes that a municipality can charge. The tax cap limits how much we can increase the tax year over year, and the constitutional tax limit is the maximum tax that can be charged. Regardless of how much it has been increased, it cannot exceed a certain limit, which is based on a percentage of the assessed values of the properties in the village. Any questions so far? Y'all good?
Yes.
We're all good.
Okay. All right. The general fund. The general fund covers for most purposes, the general fund is for everything except sewer. Okay, our tax rate this year is increasing from 218 to 222.4 per thousand in assessed value. That translates to $626,614 in property taxes. I was a little conservative in estimating the sales tax we would receive. Sales taxes have been, after a slump in 2020, sales taxes really took off, but I didn't want to be too optimistic there. So this 1.57 million is on the low end of what we might expect. Okay, state and federal aid, we're looking at 647,000 plus. Whoops, sorry about that. Other revenues, those are, sale of equipment, building fees and permit fees, various things like that. So our total estimated revenues for the general fund in the upcoming year are $3 million. Thank you very much. $3,236,538. Which means that our expenditures will also total $3,236,538. Oh, here is a visual for our expected revenue sources. I've broken it down to just the 4 significant categories and lumped all the smaller ones into other. So just short of 50% of our anticipated revenues are coming from sales taxes. That's always a major source of revenue for us. Property taxes are the only thing we really have significant control over. State and federal aid, we get what we get, and we don't get upset. Okay. Budgeted appropriations, aka spending. Let's see, I'm not going to talk about every single point. Our biggest chunk is for transportation, that is road maintenance, things things like that, just keeping things, keeping the roads and sidewalks and plowing all in peak form. Let's see, this 21%, the blue is for general government support. No, the office people, insurance, stuff like that. And employee benefits, the largest chunk of that is for health insurance. Anyone have questions about any of these other smaller categories?
No.
I don't.
Okay, moving on. Sewer fund. Anybody spot the cute little thing I have on this slide? Oh, are they up on the big TV?
No, it's on, you're on the white screen.
Oh, okay. Anybody see what I'm talking about?
It says, "Hi, Jerry."
There's a rubber ducky.
That's what Jake and I saw.
Rubber duck.
Anyway,
I thought it was a fire
little
hydrant.
levity. Okay. So for this year, we are keeping our per unit cost the same as last year at $195. That's a base rate of $48.75 per year. Please note, the estimated sewer revenues are a little higher than they are for the current year, even though the rate will not be changing. That's because that is due to new construction that will be serviced by the village sewer system. Let's see, other income includes revenue from the sale of old equipment and vehicles. We were planning to sell some of those vehicles in the current year, but we haven't received all the replacements yet. So we've got a couple years worth of older equipment sales rolled into that $63,000. That's why it's significantly higher than it was last year. And the only other significant revenue source here is a CDBG grant. Okay, total budgeted revenues and appropriations, $1.342 million. Here's a comparison this year versus the upcoming year. So our spending is going up a little bit. Looks like really the biggest difference is due to the other income on the second line up, and then our federal aid, we didn't get any last year. So this year is going to be $50,000 there. And then you can see that small increase in the estimated revenues on the 1, 2, 3rd row down. And let's check my notes. Okay. Estimated revenues. Almost all of it is sewer charges. I already touched on the other little pie slices there. And for appropriations, let's see. Home and community service is the wastewater treatment plant. Making the toilets, keeping the toilets flushing. We have employee benefits, and I would like to touch on debt service versus transfers to reserves. The light blue slice is transfers to reserves. As probably all of you know, the wastewater treatment plant has been granted an interest-free loan of over $9 million to make major improvements to the facilities. And we need to start setting money aside now to make payments on that loan, even though we won't start to make those payments for several years. So this transfer to reserves is different than the purple debt service slice of the pie. The purple slice is to make payments on existing debt that we've been making payments on for years. All right. Okay. So as I mentioned, the village has been awarded an interest-free loan. And the grant and the loan have been provided by the Environmental Facilities Corporation. Our engineering team is already hard at work, and construction is scheduled to begin next May, in May of 2023. And I should note, expenditures related to this project do not appear in the budget because we have established a special capital improvements fund for this project alone. Unlike the general and sewer fund budgets, the capital project budget does not close out at the end of the year. It lasts for the entire life of the project, and it doesn't go through the same budget approval process that we use for the other funds. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions, and I'm happy to stay on through the public hearing portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Marcia.
Yeah, Marcia, let's do
Thanks,
it.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Feel better.
Does anyone have any questions? I know we've gone through this.
Yeah,
with the
but
fine-tooth comb.
that's about what she already presented.
Yep.
So I went looking at the old stuff. And that's, yes, thank you, Marcia.
You're very welcome. Okay, Heather, you're the host.
Okay.
Feel better.
Thank you.
So she's gonna stay on a little bit. We're gonna just, we'll jump into some, maybe we can sneak in the public comment section real quick, because we have about 4 or 5 minutes before we start the public hearing.
Yes.
So at this time, I would open up the public comment section. If anyone has any comments, they'd like to come up to the microphone, please feel free to do so at this time. Consider me anytime. So if we have nobody that's wants to speak to us tonight, we will close this portion of the meeting. And let's go and try to approve our minutes from March 24th. Oh no, never mind, we're not do that. Those aren't prepared for us yet, so what about our claims and warrants to everyone? I think it was Jude and Carlton in the bill.
Yep.
Yep.
Did anyone have any questions regarding that?
I just wanted to ask Jake one, and it's like really inexpensive. It's like $63, but I don't know what it is. A BIMGEES from Lowe's. And it's really just inexpensive, but I just didn't.
Whoa.
It's curiosity.
No, I'm just trying to see what you wanted. Sometimes they sign on so far in advance of the, oh, it's not listed, so it's gonna be, we have the bills here with us?
I just wanted to know what it was. It said it was BIMGEES, and I had no idea.
Is it bungees
Huh?
instead of? I thought I looked at the bill. I thought
16
it was
like
bungee cords or something.
Yeah, but I didn't know for sure, so, and it was only like $63 or something, so.
Yeah, let me, no, I don't have the bills, okay, it's just a summary of it, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely look at that one.
Okay.
63.
Marcia could probably look it up. All right, so no one has any other questions. I would ask for a motion to approve the claims and warrants.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Trustee Lancy?
I,
Trustee Lauer?
All right.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Ellen. Well, we still have a couple minutes, so let's keep rolling down our agenda here. So I'm going to be looking for a motion so we can set a public hearing on proposed local law number 7 of 2022 to consider amending the zoning local law by replacing chapter 175 of the zoning local law of the Village of Webster, controlled site usage with site plan review and approval. This This is a pretty long one, so I'm not thinking that I'm gonna read through this all, Don.
The resolution of the local law.
The local law.
No, you don't need to read through the local law.
I think you should.
Huh? Well, not tonight. Hopefully, each of you will
I
read
did.
it before there's a vote comes up on it.
I did email it out to them when you asked to.
I got it.
Yeah, I got it.
I read it.
But the reason for this is there was, and I don't know how many years this has been the case, but there's kind of been a glitch in the existing zoning code in that anything constructed in the general industrial zone in the village was not subject to site plan approval. Basically, Xerox could come in and just ask for a building permit, and it was all just internal. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why some things got built at Xerox, as it did. But in any event, in order to close that loophole, it was decided that we'd revamp the whole thing, because personally, I've never seen a zoning ordinance or code in any municipality that talked about controlled site uses. They always use the phrase site plan approval. So we're just getting rid of this controlled site permits and switching it to site plan approval by the zoning board of appeals, since there's no longer a planning board. But, and it's essentially a two-step process. They come in for preliminary site plan review, and then the planning board can go through, or the zoning board can go through and ask for changes or whatever, and then they come back later for final site plan approval. So it's yes. I didn't, because this is an amendment to the zoning law, it requires, there's got to be 10 days between publication of the notice and the actual hearing. So I didn't look at a calendar. Other ones, it's 5 days, but not zoning. Zoning is 10 days. So I don't know when you can get this in the Herald. They publish on Thursdays.
It would be the 22nd.
So this would be from April 28th then?
No, it couldn't be, because you need 10 days from the date it's published in the Herald, which is the 22nd.
So it would have to be the 12th.
So it'd have to be the first meeting in May.
May 12th. Okay.
And just so you're all aware, I'm not going to be at that meeting. I'll be at Tilden,
Mine's all right.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
You're just a little jet setter, aren't you?
You see that screen in front of you? You can do the same thing they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right up.
That's what Daryl's doing.
You could, but
All right.
Can it wait for the next one then? Oh, no, you got stuff?
No,
Okay.
really, no.
No, I think
Yeah.
if we all go through it, Don's already obviously reviewed it, just to make sure.
well,
the rest of-
Jake, Aaron, and I went through it pretty close. They helped me, put this together.
Okay.
So Jake can,
Jake will be
and or Aaron can answer any questions or whatever. And it's patterned after the site plan review provisions in the Village of Fairport zoning code. Figure the Village of Fairport looks pretty good, so, seems to be working there.
Oh my gosh, it's looking great.
All right, so then,
Especially their new bridge.
so I'll ask for a motion then to set the public hearing on proposed local law number 7 of 2022 for May 12th at 7:05 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy?
Aye.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, now I would like to ask for a motion to open up the public hearing on the tentative budget for the 2022 and 23 fiscal year.
Yeah?
You'll make it?
You made that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
I
Trustee
Hey, Daryl, you could speak up.
Trustee, no, he can't vote.
Oh,
Trustee Lancy?
that's right.
Aye.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
So if anyone would like to speak on behalf of the tentative budget, feel free to come up to the podium.
Looks like we're good.
Looks like we do not have anyone
It just shows what good fiscal stewards
That's
you all are.
Great
Yeah.
job.
good fiscal stewards.
It's a balanced budget.
It's-
We're good. Good
So-
job, Marcia.
Yes, very, very good.
I just keep on thanking Marcia, so it's,
Yeah. Thanks, John.
So, she's not going to fill out the door soon.
All right, you're off the hook, Marcia. Good night. Feel better.
Do
good
it.
night, yes.
So with no one that wants to come up, I ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll say,
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy?
aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
So I would like to ask for a motion to open up a public hearing on the proposed local law number 6 of 2022 entitled "A Local Law to Amend Certain Provisions of the Village Code to Ban Smoking in Village Parks and Village-Owned Buildings." So can I have a motion from somebody?
I'll make that motion.
I'll say,
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy?
aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
So if anyone would like to come up and speak to this, I know we've talked about this in a few of our meetings. Now come up to the podium. All right, it looks like we have no one here for this evening, so I will ask for a motion to close this part of the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Trustee Lancy?
Aye.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Don, looks like you're next on my agenda here.
The only thing I wanted to bring all of you up to speed on is that Jake and I have been working on a proposed intermunicipal agreement between the village and the town for the sewer outfall pipe and joint use of that. And we've got a draft of it that we're going to submit to the town. And basically, it's simply that it expressly states that the village gets to use the outfall, and the town agrees that the village has use of that portion of the outfall that where the effluents are combined to the point of discharge in Lake Ontario. And then the village and town will pay for it in proportion to the respective flows, as a percentage.
You already sent it to us electronically, right?
I'm not sure.
I thought maybe you did, but I just want to make sure we all have questions for it before you send it, right, just in case.
Well, we just finished it like yesterday.
Not that I'm assuming we will,
Right. Have to look at
but
We'll send it out.
it. Yes.
I appreciate it.
But if you have any questions about it, please get back to Jake or I.
Yeah, so you can get it out.
Quickly, because this is one thing that's, holding up
A lot.
the DEC and
Yep.
the Speedies permit
Understand.
and
Yep.
without that,
We need speeds.
Is it outfall?
outfall.
Could the town refuse that?
Could they refuse it?
Yeah.
I suppose they
They could, but I don't think they
could.
would.
I don't think they will. The supervisor has already indicated in emails that the town is going to, they've been using the pipe for 40 years, so it's kind of silly at this point to say you can't use it anymore. You know, the only issues are making sure that, you know, any repairs
Exactly.
or upgrades to it or whatever are paid for by the town and the village fairly. And as Jake says, there's really no ongoing, you know, there's really no maintenance of it because it's just basically clean water because it's at the tail end of the whole
It's just, there's
treatment
a
process.
repair and there's not a lot of ongoing
Yeah.
maintenance, yeah.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
very good.
And you'll see when you get it, we included, it's not binding, but there's basically that the town and village agree in the future on a more expanded intermunicipal agreement. You know, when the designs of both the town's phase 2 and the village's project are more complete, and there's a better idea of what, if anything, are going to be shared. So it talks about, and we threw some dates in there that basically by this fall, we're thinking that both the town and the village should have enough progress been done on the design of each of their upgrades that we can at least start to negotiate a more comprehensive IMA. And then the goal would be to have that done, what did we put in there, Jake, the following February, I
I
think?
think, I believe it's February 15th or
Yeah,
so.
the following
target.
February. Those are more aspirational than anything else, but
And it keeps it moving.
correct, we just wanted the town to, you know, show the town what the village's intent is anyhow.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll email that to everybody, and then if you could, like within,
I would say just say if you don't have a response by whatever day, Monday, Tuesday, and it's off.
Exactly.
Give us a.
yeah, I was gonna give you a week.
Oh, I don't think we need a week,
All right,
All you have to do is look at it.
you know, say Tuesday, so,
all right,
all right?
sounds good.
Okay.
All right, clerk? Nothing?
No. Thank you.
Mr. Swinley?
The only thing I have really is in regards to the Ready project. Well, I guess a couple of things, but the Ready project down at the sandbar, this is awful, at the sandbar,
Yeah.
that got the approval from the DEC, and we should at the next meeting, I think I sent something out this afternoon that I got from the engineers, regarding scheduling a advertisement for bids, and we're, get the board to review that, approve them, and advertise for the bids, so we can kind of stay on the same schedule. And that might, I just sent it out, I just got it from the engineers, so I think that's going to be, we're going to aim for the next meeting, get where they're going to present it, and then the following meeting, I think, for a vote on it, so that we go to bid. And I think opening the bids towards the end of May, and then approving them beginning of June. I think that's it for that. As far as we're continuing to have project meetings for the first Wednesday every month right now. Progress meetings for the sewage treatment plant for that, when the design, we're meeting, also have technical meetings to go over some of the things in the selections that we have there with the engineers. And the only other thing is Kittleberger Park has been on the agenda for a while to do that circle down there. It's a smaller scale, but it's going to be very similar to 590 up near Seabreeze, where they have those mountable curves. We're going to end up with a lot less asphalt to take care of. A little nicer looking at a lot safer intersection down there. That's the,
That's open.
yeah, there's just some, I forgot which, it was Penfield? One of them's open. It's going to be a while before we get to the asphalt. We're going to mill it down first, so it's going to be, there's going to be a period of time with other projects that are going on that they'll be milled, and we probably might be not paid for a month or so. but that's, we gotta get the milling machine and the contractor in for that because the machines are going elsewhere, so. Doing that, and Wood Street, I'm trying to make improvements to that circle as well. It's just kind of a mess and drainage issues over that. So we don't have much room to widen that, but we're gonna do that as well. And then real soon, we can place these stakes along South Avenue and Corning Park with our community development block grant funds. I'm going to be starting that project that we did put in for last year, where it's Corning Park, South Avenue, and then Wood Street. There's a pathway between Iroquois and Wood. Going over towards Spry, we're going to improve that as well. I think there's been some considerable increases to the cost. I had to submit that in February of last year. The contract prices don't typically come out until March. So in February last year, I submitted it. So we were going on February 2021, we were going on 2020 prices. And because of COVID, they didn't do a lot, and they were holding the 2019 prices. So it was $71 a square yard for sidewalks. In 2019, it's $84. So we're paring down a little bit. We're not doing, the stuff in front of the firehouse is fine here anyway, so we're good there. We're not doing that. This is in the community development block grant area. So there's pretty good trip hazards here we're going to take care of and do this sidewalk while it's in. Same with Corning Park, where it's eligible for the grant money from the community development block grant. And then we were talking about doing concrete, but I think we might convert it back over to asphalt for that little, it's about 300-foot strip, and that's another about $8,000 savings. We're going to go a little wider with asphalt and still have a very nice walk, but not have the expense of concrete. Logistically, it's a little more difficult doing concrete off the road too than asphalt is. So, but those are things going on. Now we're getting ready to.
You doing the sidewalks on both sides of South Avenue?
No, just along this one side, just from here to Sanford Street.
Yeah.
In this round. So the other side, that section I believe was out of the community development block grant areas. There's a low mod map that they call it, low to moderate income map. And it makes places eligible, or makes projects eligible based on where they are on that map. And the census blocks, every year they have a little slightly different map, what's eligible and what's not. So that's why in certain areas we've been hopscotching around a little bit to get them while they're eligible. Certainly the old village was really hard to believe that it's eligible in certain times. As soon as it is, that's why we popped in and did part of Lapham. We did part of Park Avenue. Try to get them while they're in there so we can get grant funds for it. And so someday we're going to catch up on all the areas that are eligible, and we'll have to do a big project to finish up all the infill little pieces that are left, but it's going along pretty decent.
Yeah, well, that one is, I had the senior group, remember, go over all the sidewalks with their wheelchairs and everything else, and that made a big difference. That helped a lot when I had that group.
It's funny, Will and I went to a ADA class, their awareness thing that they did downtown, and the county put it on. And we did a couple things. We got in a wheelchair and we put on these goggles where you couldn't see, and used the stick and tried to navigate around it. And somebody was with you, luckily, because I ended up in the middle of the intersection. But the difference in the side slope and the sidewalk is amazing.
Yes.
2% side slope, you have just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And trying to keep the wheelchair going straight is.
Well, no, when I met with them, and I used to meet over at Phillips Village with them, and one of them said, here, get in this wheelchair. And that's what I did, and I was amazed, absolutely amazed. Just a little, ooh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
So
Jake.
thank you.
It's nice not to hear about sensible salting anymore and put your snow to the left.
I don't know if we're out of the woods yet. No promises.
So our next village board meeting is April 28th,
Yes.
2022 at 7 o'clock. Please join us. We have candy. And now I would like the.
I want to make an announcement.
Oh, you do?
Before you do
All right,
that.
Carl has some announcements.
Thank you. Saturday the 16th, the Village Business Improvement District is presenting an Easter egg hunt at the Fireman's Field. The bid has given almost 4,000 eggs to be found with prizes in each one. It's going to be rain or shine beginning at 10 o'clock at the Fireman's Field. 10 a.m. start. Wear your long underwear. It's going to be cold, 33 in the morning, but warm up to 50 around go time.
It'll be
We
fun.
need volunteers. If you're listening, come and join us.
Yeah.
So we have nice new sidewalks, you do something to get up there.
New sidewalks and the Easter Bunny will be there.
Yeah.
Better be there.
Good prizes, all are welcome.
Thank you, Carl. So I'd like to ask for a motion to enter into an executive session
Yeah.
for the purposes of discussing a pending litigation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Lancy? Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Polito?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right.
If we could we stay in here just because I want Daryl to be able to listen in?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
fine. So anyone who's in the audience, if you could please step out for a brief moment, and then we will call you back in. All right. I will ask for a motion to adjourn from tonight's meeting.
I make that motion.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for joining us.